The day I lost my company began like any other, the San Francisco fog drifting over the hills and spilling into the bay. I was Alexander Chen, founder and CEO of Nova Technologies, a business I'd grown from a tiny apartment startup into a $500 million empire. But the thing about family secrets is that they don't stay buried. And mine was about to tear everything apart. I stood by the window of my 40th floor office, watching streaks of sunlight fight through the fog, when my assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Mr. Chen, your father and brother are here. They say it's urgent." My stomach twisted. Dad and Marcus never showed up unannounced. That meant trouble. "Send them in," I said, straightening my blazer and trying to sound composed. The glass door swung open. Dad walked in first, sharp as ever in his tailored Italian suit. Behind him, Marcus wore that same arrogant smirk that had irritated me since childhood. "Alexa, we need to talk," Dad said, his voice heavy with authority, the same tone that used to make me shrink as a kid. He didn't wait for permission to sit, just claimed a leather chair across from my desk. Marcus stayed standing, hands in his pockets, scanning my office like he already owned it. "What's going on?" I asked, staying behind my desk, a deliberate barrier between us. Marcus pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, then slid it across to me. "Ring any bells?" My blood ran cold. The headline on the screen glared back at me. "Tech prodigy expelled from Stanford, plagiarism scandal rocks campus." That article. 15 years old. Buried and forgotten, or so I'd hoped. "Where did you get this?" I managed to whisper. Marcus's grin widened. "Doesn't matter. What matters is what happens when your board sees it. When investors see it. When the whole world learns that Alexander Chen, the genius behind Nova Technologies, is a fraud." I clenched the edge of my desk, my knuckles white. That was 15 years ago. I was a kid. "Save it," Dad interrupted, voice smooth, almost kind. "We're not here to punish you, sweetheart. We're here to help." Sweetheart. The word that used to mean affection now sounded like poison. I looked between them, my father, my brother, men who shared my blood but not my values. "What do you want?" Marcus reached into his briefcase and dropped a folder beside his phone. "Simple. Sign over controlling interest in Nova. You'll stay on as CTO. You get to keep your name and your paycheck, and we keep your little secret buried. Everyone wins." The words stung more than I expected. Stay on as CTO. Like I was some lab tech, not the mind that built the company from nothing. "And if I say no?" Dad leaned forward, his eyes soft but dangerous. "Then tomorrow morning, every major tech outlet will have this article. Your board will see it. Your partners. The stock will nosedive. And everyone will know that Nova's first big product, the one that made you, wasn't entirely yours. They had me cornered, and they knew it. One mistake from my youth, one moment of panic and poor judgment, could erase 15 years of hard-earned redemption." "You have until tomorrow," Marcus said as he turned to leave. "Sign it, or lose everything. Your call, sis." The door closed behind them, leaving me alone with the fog pressing against the glass. I stared at the article again, my hands trembling. The truth was more complicated than the headline. I had used someone else's code in a final project, I was caught, expelled, humiliated. But that failure had changed me. It had forged me. Nova Technologies wasn't built on theft. Every patent, every product, every innovation bore my name, and mine alone. I'd spent years proving I could build something real. And now, one youthful mistake could undo it all. For days, I met with my lawyers, searching for a way out. Every expert said the same thing: if the story broke, the company would collapse. The board would remove me. My legacy would vanish overnight. By midnight, I was back in my office, staring at the contract Marcus had left. Transfer of controlling interest. My company. My life's work. My signature, waiting to seal my surrender. And that's how the day I lost everything truly began. All because of one mistake, a desperate choice made by a 19-year-old trying to survive. I thought of my team, the brilliant engineers who'd followed me from the beginning, who believed in me. Of the customers who trusted what we built. Of the young women who saw me as proof that they could lead in a world that rarely let them. All of it could vanish in an instant if the truth came out. With my vision blurred by tears, I picked up the pen and signed the papers. The next morning, I arrived early to pack my things before anyone else showed up. The office was quiet, filled only with the hum of computers and the faint fog outside the windows. But as the elevator doors opened, I saw Sarah waiting for me, wide-eyed, flushed, almost trembling. "Miss Chen. Thank goodness you're here. Google's CEO has been calling since sunrise. They want to acquire Nova, $3 billion. The board's already gathering for an emergency meeting." I froze, my mind racing. $3 billion. 6 times our current valuation. The signed documents, the ones handing over my company, were still tucked inside my bag, unsubmitted. My phone buzzed. A message from Marcus, on our way up. "Have those papers ready." A slow smile spread across my face as the elevator behind me chimed. Sometimes, timing really is everything. And sometimes, karma has impeccable timing. This was the start of a war they never expected. When the doors opened, my father and brother stepped out, their confident grins faltering as soon as they saw me smiling. Behind them came the entire board of directors, led by Richard Thompson, our chairman. "Perfect timing," I said evenly. We were just about to start an emergency board session. Marcus stepped forward, waving the folder. "Actually, we have an announcement first." "Indeed we do," I cut in smoothly, turning toward the board. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to inform you that Google has just offered to purchase Nova Technologies for $3 billion in cash and stock." The hallway erupted in gasps and chatter. I watched color drain from my father's face. The papers Marcus held, transferring control of a $500 million company, had just become meaningless. Because in minutes, Nova would be worth 6 times that. "This is highly irregular," Dad said, his composure slipping. "There are ownership matters to resolve first." Richard frowned. "Ownership changes? What are you referring to?" I turned to my father, my voice calm but razor-sharp. "Yes, Dad, what ownership changes? Surely you're not talking about the documents Marcus is holding. The ones you tried to blackmail me into signing last night?" Every head in the hallway turned toward them. Marcus's face went scarlet. "You signed them. The company is ours." "Actually," I said, pulling out my phone, "I have a recording of last night's conversation. It details how you both tried to extort control of Nova through blackmail. Would you like me to play it for everyone here?" Marcus lunged forward, but 2 security guards, whom I'd quietly arranged to stand by, stepped in immediately. Dad caught his arm, realization dawning in his eyes. Their plan had completely collapsed. "The boardroom's ready," I said, brushing past them. "Let's discuss Google's offer." "Oh, and Dad, Marcus? You're not board members or executives. You'll have to wait outside." The next 2 hours were a blur of excitement. Google's proposal was genuine. They'd been following Nova's work in artificial intelligence for months. When the acquisition was announced, our stock would skyrocket. The vote was unanimous. I'd just made every shareholder in the company, including myself, a fortune. But I wasn't finished. When the meeting ended, I found Dad and Marcus still sitting in the reception area, pale and furious. "You can't do this," Marcus hissed. "We're family." "Funny," I said, taking a seat across from them. "You didn't remember that last night when you were threatening to ruin me." I leaned forward slightly. "But since we're talking about family, let's revisit what really happened at Stanford 15 years ago." Dad's head snapped up. Marcus's face drained of color. "You see," I continued, opening another folder. After your little visit, I did some digging. Made a few calls. Turns out the code I was accused of plagiarizing, the one that got me expelled, wasn't stolen by me. I paused, letting the silence build. It was stolen from me. By you, Marcus. The truth had taken all night to uncover. But it was worth every second. And this time, I wasn't the one losing everything. Marcus had always struggled in his computer science classes at Stanford. During one holiday visit, he copied my project code and submitted it as his own at his university. When his professor recognized the program, because he'd once collaborated with my Stanford advisor, Marcus panicked. To save himself, he framed me, planting evidence that made it look like I was the one who'd stolen from him. You let me take the fall, I said, my voice shaking with 15 years of anger I'd buried too deep. You watched me lose everything. And Dad, I turned to face him, my words sharp as glass. You knew. You always knew. But you protected him, because he was your golden boy. Your son. Dad looked away, unable to meet my eyes. Marcus opened his mouth, but I lifted a hand to silence him. Don't. I'm not finished. I leaned forward, my voice low but steady. That old article you used to blackmail me? It's getting an update. I've already spoken to 3 major tech outlets. They're very interested in the real story, about how the so-called plagiarist built a multi-billion-dollar empire, while the real thief, I smiled at Marcus, couldn't keep a single startup alive. What is it now? 5 failures? You can't prove this, he stammered, though the tremor in his voice betrayed him. Oh, but I can, I said. Your former professor kept everything. Emails, submissions, timestamps, all the proof anyone could need. He's been waiting 15 years for the truth to come out. I stood, feeling years of shame and silence lift off my shoulders. Here's what's going to happen. You're both going to leave my company. You're going to leave San Francisco. And when people ask, you'll smile and tell them you're proud of me. Because if you ever come near me or Nova again. I didn't finish the sentence. I didn't need to. The look in my eyes said enough. As security escorted them out, I felt no triumph, just a quiet, liberating calm. The peace of finally being free from the lie that had haunted me for half my life. The following months were a whirlwind. The Google acquisition dominated headlines. The plagiarism story resurfaced, but this time it was told as a redemption, not a scandal. Messages flooded in from women across the world, engineers, founders, students, saying my story gave them hope. That they, too, could rise above injustice in a world stacked against them. I stayed on as Nova's CEO, with full creative control under Google's umbrella. Our AI breakthroughs reshaped industries, from medicine to environmental innovation. The 19-year-old girl who'd been expelled in disgrace had ended up changing the world, just not the way anyone had imagined. Marcus vanished from the tech scene entirely. Last I heard, he'd opened a small restaurant in Austin. Dad retired to Florida and sent the occasional apology email, ones I never replied to. Mom, who'd divorced him years before, finally learned the truth. We rebuilt our relationship stronger than ever. At the acquisition celebration, Richard, our board chairman, asked me if I regretted not exposing Marcus back then. I thought about it. If I had, I said, maybe I wouldn't have fought so hard to prove myself. Sometimes the worst wounds push us to do the impossible. Now, the framed letter of my Stanford expulsion hangs in my office. Not as a scar, but as proof that failure doesn't define us, resilience does. Last week, I launched a scholarship for young women in tech who faced unfair setbacks. We named it the Phoenix Fund, for those who rise from their ashes stronger than before. Our first recipient was a brilliant coder accused of cheating by a jealous classmate. When I told her my story, tears filled her eyes. She hugged me and asked, "How did you survive it?" I smiled, remembering that foggy San Francisco morning, the day my father and brother thought they'd destroyed me. I learned that success isn't just about brilliance or luck, I told her. It's about courage, standing your ground even when the people you love try to break you. That evening, as I left the office, the familiar fog drifted back over the bay. This time, I didn't see it as something that hid the world, but something that revealed it. Because sometimes, you need the fog to clear before you can see what truly matters. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't vengeance at all. It's success so radiant that those who tried to destroy you become just a shadow in your story. As I slid into my car, my phone buzzed. Another global tech firm wanted to collaborate on an AI initiative. I smiled, thinking of that frightened 19-year-old who thought her life had ended. The truth was, it hadn't ended at all. It had only just begun.